All right, we're here with Dragon. We just finished a Qigong class, which is basically channeling your energy, exercising your energy, and keeping it healthy. We have some questions for you. First of all, where are you from and what are you doing here?
Well, originally I am from Eastern Europe, from Romania, and I was supposed to be an electrical engineer, but the life took the turn on me and guided me in a totally different direction. Right now I'm a holistic health practitioner. I do all kinds of healings. I'm also involved in beekeeping. I did a lot of bee removals while I was involved more, and when I became a father, I kind of let that go. But I still teach about the importance of bees and the connection with the bees in everything that I do. It's all intertwined. So to understand better, the bees are they're very intelligent creatures. They're called superorganism, and the only ones other creatures that are similar to that are the ants, which work together for the benefit
Termites.
of the termites. Ants.
Social insects.
Social insects, exactly. So looking at the bees as a superorganism is very important because they're very similar to humans. They have behaviors that we can learn from them. They're very, very intelligent beings that cooperate with one with each other. So bees are the only creature on the planet that work for the benefit of all and produce more than they consume. And they're also the only creature that do not harm other beings in order to survive. Like animals, the carnivores eat other animals, and we eat animals and plants, and even cows destroy plants by eating them. But bees actually, instead of destroying them, they multiply them by pollinizing and helping plants to grow. But 30% of what we eat is due to the bees, so it's very important. The bees are very, very important. They've been here since the age of dinosaurs, and they survived, and they will probably survive. No matter what happens on the planet, I think they'll find ways to survive. But we are in trouble, and we're in trouble because we isolate ourselves. We see ourselves as separate. We compete with one of each other, which in the world of bees doesn't exist. James knows about it because he does bee removals. It's a quite fascinating work. You have to have love for bees to do that, and you have to show them your respect and your love, because bees will feel that. They will sense your emotions when you go there. And if you're angry and if you don't like what you're doing, you'll have to face their anger. The bees will react only if they feel threatened, and they sense that threat based on your emotions. So however you go there, if you're angry, if you're scared, they will sense that. They will not know where is that coming, but they will take that personally as thinking that you're coming there with a bad intention, and they will sting you. The same thing happens with the bees that you encounter during the day. They might just want to come around you, check on you. So if you start waving and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, they think you have bad intentions, and they might sting you. And the bee has no intention of harming or stinging anybody, because when the bee stings you, she dies. Her what do you call it? The stinger is attached to their digestive system. So once they insert that into your skin, that pulls out the entire digestive system, and they die.
So can you explain a bit more? What is Qi? Why is it important to humans? And how does it affect the bees? I know you mentioned if you're in a bad mood, the bees know it, and will sting you more and be more aggressive. If you're calm and quiet, bees do pick up on that. What is Qi, and what can we learn from the bees about?
Good question. So we are not only physical beings; we are spiritual beings. We're energy. We are composed of tiny electrons and molecules vibrating together and condensing and forming our physical body. If you took yourself under the microscope, you will not see any solidity. It's all pieces, and we're all pipes in our body where the fluids flow through. So What is chi? Chi is the bonding agent of you, of your being, and this chi, the ancient civilizations, the Chinese call it chi, the Japanese and Korean call it ki. A lot of people know about Reiki. Reiki is it's energetic healing modality. In Hindu tradition, in the Vedic systems that are all 5,000 years old, they talk about prana and the channels, the nadis that this energy goes through. And the acupuncturist, the traditional Chinese medicine, they knew this thousands and thousands years ago. They knew exactly where these meridians are. So when they insert the needles, they're unblocking the stagnation of the energy, or they're releasing and bringing the energy that is not sufficient into your body. They're pretty much opening these energetic channels where this chi, the energy, the science calls it now bioplasma or electromagnetic field, that is all around us. So when we practice Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, what we're doing, we're opening ourselves to this energy, and we're learning through Tai Chi, you're learning to use your breath, your movement, your intention to harness this energy. So Qigong means Qi is the energy, Gong means harnessing, condensing. So it's pretty much an exercise that is harnessing this life force that besides your oxygen that you need, this is what sustains life, your life, every living being, animals, plants, everything is part of that. So the bees, this is how the bees cooperate, and they flow through the chi. They are the animal kingdom is more connected to the chi because they have not isolated themselves like we do through technology, through negative emotions. So when the bees work together, they operate, they communicate not only through their kind of telepathic communication and through the body language where they buzz and then they wiggle their tails and they talk to the other members of the hive where the food source is, what is needed to be done, where they need to move. I mean, they're amazing beings. So they do communicate through the waves of energy, to the waves of chi, and we know what that is. That's the gut feeling that we have when we know there's something wrong, when we act upon it, or we have this sense, I felt this I needed to call somebody, or you think about somebody and they call you. This is tapping into that energetic field in the chi, being in the zone. The athletes know that when they score and when they focus so much onto it, and when they're in it, connected fully to it, and then they can perform really well. The artists also that are very capable of connecting with the universe where this energy comes from, because it's the source of energy is what we call the universe. We call it God, we call it Allah, we call it has different names, but it's the source of all, the source that creates and bonds everything together. The force in the Star Wars, right? They say that feel the force and connect with it, and it will guide you where you need to be. So when we get the ideas, when we relax, we're grounded, this is when we get the messages, what we need. And the artists know that. The painters, the musicians, the composers compose these beautiful pieces of music, and they were asked, well, where do you get it? And they say, well, I hear it in my ears constantly, and I'm just I'm using my hands to create that. But it's not mine. It comes from somewhere. I don't know where it comes from, but I'm getting the ideas. And the painters, they do the same thing. When we connect with the force, we receive exactly what we need. So bees are very similar to humans. They are we can learn a lot from them, the way that they behave with each other. And I think that if we would look for the benefit of all, and we would see all the humans and all the races together as a big hive, we would not harm each other. We would work with each other because we're all part of one. And the same with everything around us.
So what if we had a bee mentality? What would the bees be doing in Ukraine right now?
The bees would would not harm each other, would not fight with each other, because at the end they're the same brothers fighting, and it's so sad to see what's happening in there because of the leaders' egos, and who's suffering are the bees. So in the beehive, the queen is the one who kind of gives messages out what the hive needs to do, and the bees give messages to the queen, meaning if there's no food outside, if it's a winter or there's shortage or drought, the bees will come back to the hive and they constantly give impulses and information to the beehive. And when the queen receives the message that there's no food, she will not lay eggs, because there's no point of making more larvae, more babies, if you have no food to feed them. So when there's a abundance of food outside, then the bees come back and say there's food, and they will collect as much as they have place to store. And then the queen bee lays eggs. That's all she does between 4 and 5, 6 years that her life is. She just puts eggs in the hive, between 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day. And when there's a time for them splitting, when the space in the hive is too small, she gets that message from the other bees, and then she creates another queen bee and leaves the new queen bee in the hive, and she's the one who takes the half of the hive out. It's not like in the human world where the leader stays in the power and doesn't want to leave when there's time to leave. So that's another thing that we can learn. Why does the old queen bee leave and not the new one? Because the new one is new. She doesn't know anything. She needs to learn from the other bees, so she stays in the new hive. The old one takes the other half of the bees and they go to a location that they have predetermined before with their scouts. They know exactly what they're doing, where they're going, so she can continue and grow another family, and the new queen bee stays in the old hive. So it's a perfect cooperation for the benefit of all, not
Benefit
for
of
just
all.
themselves.
Okay, and we briefly talked before this that when I get customers that just are obsessed with honey, I try to just no. The simple fact is, in San Diego, it's going to cost you more to make that honey in your backyard than to go to buy it. Just getting into it for the honey is not the proper motivation. You need to be into the magic and the wonder of the bees. What are some of the most magical or wondrous things bees have brought into your life?
Well, since I started working with bees, people ask me, how do you get into that? And it's not that I chose, the bees choose you. They followed me. Every time I would move to a place, I would have a beehive, and I started connecting with the beekeepers that would come and remove the bees and asking them questions, because it was very fascinating for me. And then I ended up going to a beekeeper society meeting, and I met other beekeepers, and I decided to keep bees, and I got involved in it. As soon as I put my name out of it, the bees were just keep coming to me. So at one point I had 60 hives, and I started doing beekeeping, and I did hundreds of bee removals. And you know, when it gets to the honey is loaded with natural antibiotics and has all kinds of healing properties. It has to be raw honey, it cannot be processed honey. And a lot of people think, oh, you know, it's honey, and they go to a beekeeper to market, and they see you know, a price, and then they compare it to a price in the store, and they say, well, honey from the farmer's market is more expensive. Well, yes, but there's a reason for it. It's all local honey, and you're supposed to be eating local honey. It's a raw honey. It takes a lot of work. So in my point of view, honey is value is equal to gold, so you should treasure that. And San Diego has a desert climate. It's not easy to have bees in here, except certain areas like Rancho Santa Fe and Mount Helix, where there's constant abundance of food. It's not easy to be a beekeeper in San Diego, and people think that, oh, you know, I'm going to put some beehives, and I'm going to put there's a faucet on a box in here, and I'm going to just go with the jar and turn the faucet, and the honey's going to leak in there. No, it's a lot of work. Avid beekeepers know that they have to sacrifice their life and their families because bees come first, and you have to tend bees. There's a lot of work. It's heavy work, heavy lifting. There's a lot of you need to have a lot of experience to know what to do with the bees, to connect with them. Just spending time with bees, sitting by the hive and watching them, you learn a lot. You learn about their behavior, learn about everything. And one single bee lives between 4 to 6 weeks, and she produces 1/8 of a teaspoon of honey in her life. So she goes and visits thousands and thousands of flowers during the day and collects the pollen, and then comes back to the hive and puts the pollen, the nectar and pollen, but puts the nectar into the hive, into the honeycomb, and they all add up, and then they fan that honey, they evaporate any moisture, and then it becomes more condensed, and then they cap it, they seal the honeycomb, and that's where the honey is preserved. And that honeycomb is loaded with antibiotics to preserve the honey. Honey is the only food that never goes bad. You can keep honey for thousands of years. They found honey in Egypt's pyramids that was 2,000 years old, and it was still edible. So honey will never go bad. It will crystallize, and the crystallization is a normal process. And people should consume honey on a daily basis, raw honey. Very, very important. And one factor that I teach people when they get honey, I'm less active into beekeeping and bee removals, but I had created 7 honey formulas. Some are for immune system, some are with pollen, some are with habanero for culinary experts, some with black truffles, royal jelly, and so I work with other beekeepers and I sell honey, and I would encourage people to take honey on a daily basis. What I do every morning, I put the warm cup of water with the 1 teaspoon of raw honey, and I squeeze lemon, which we have in abundance here in San Diego, and I drink that first thing in the morning.
I
Why?
drank 2 cups this morning. That's how I wake up.
Because it alkalizes your body.
And
The lemon.
your need for coffee. I had a deep need for coffee. Honey and lemon wakes you up. It sustains your energy, whereas
So
coffee brings you up and takes you crashing down.
Coffee doesn't have energy. It only stimulates your adrenal glands to produce more energy, and that's your adrenal glands produce the adrenaline and the chi. So what you're doing, you're forcing your body, you're pushing your body, and you're depleting your body by giving these stimulants, like energy drinks. The energy drink doesn't have anything, and it has a stimulant that will force your body to produce more energy, and then you crash because you deplete yourself. But if you learn to eat healthy and live healthy, then you learn to generate the energy, and it's never ending. No matter how much effort you do, you will not feel exhausted. Yes, you will need time to rest and to sleep, but it all comes from you. You're the own generator of energy. So yes for local honey, yes for real raw honey, unprocessed honey. So be mindful of what kind of honey you're getting, and treat that honey as gold. It's loaded with good properties.
Okay, we have some actual beekeeping to do here shortly,
Okay.
so I have one more question. I wanted to touch on coordinated movement. Bees do it. We're here having a Qigong class. And we have an actor in the crowd. Hello, Graham. And a group's acting in unity as one. Why do they do it, and what are the benefits?
So the power of the unity, as I said before, the power of bees are in their unity, and they're working together. Like one bee, what can one bee do to you? She collects a little bit of honey. What can she do with that? Not much. One bee can sting you, and that's about it. But if you put 60,000 bees together, they're very, very powerful. So the power of unity. Why? Because when the spirits for the same species, it can be bees, it can be birds, it can be animals. We all know that the animals go into together. Fish fly, they swim in together. Birds fly together, and when they move, you see this flock of birds moving together, right? How do they know, where to go? And there's just little like waves, and they're going. You can watch different videos on YouTube, starlings and different birds that are fast moving. They all go together and they turn. Fish do the same thing. They exactly know when to turn. Why? because they're totally connected to this energetic field. So when they sense the signal, they all move in the same time, exactly in the same time. There's no delay, and the bees do the same thing when they swarm. They all go in flow. So when we practice things like Tai Chi and Qigong, we gather together. There's a practice of unity where we all connect and we do the movement in the same time. Why? Because when we connect to this energetic field, we grow this field exponentially. The more people gather together, the more that energy grows. And for the people that practice religion, they say when Jesus was preaching, whereas there's two people gathering together, God will be there, right? Will be with the presence. Why? Because it's the unity process. When we connect, we're supposed to connect with each other. We're supposed to cooperate and collaborate, not be separate and compete with each other. So that's how the bees know to move. That's how all the animals connect with each other. They know what to do. When there's a fire, the animals get together, and even the predators get together with what they would normally have as a prey. But when there's a danger, they cooperate and then they help each other to go to a safe place. And a predator will not kill more than he needs to survive. We humans, we kill more than we need. We slaughter more animals than we need. Why? Because we think that there is not going to be enough the next day. So the entire food chain is very disruptive and very damaging to the environment and to all living beings. So we all should be mindful what we eat and what we do on a daily basis.
All right. We'll wrap this up. Pleasure having you speak, and keep doing what you do.
Thank you very much.